me give you that. Look, he's asleep. Oh, he was asleep. Hi, sweetheart. Oh, shoot. I lost it. That's you. I hope you like it. Bye, emojis. Okay. Oh, sorry. You'll have to edit that out. I ended up working for some gaming companies, and then some of my first work for independents like Kamiko was published while I was still in art school.
Okay.
Like my last year of art school, I was working on the Elementals and then the Fathom miniseries for Kamiko.
So you were in the industry on books that were doing well and still went and got an education.
Well, of course, I was getting an education while I was working in comics. So it was like, but it was like when I first started, like when I was in high school, the stuff that I was doing looked like I was in high school. But somebody paid me to do it, so I consider it my first professional job.
Sure.
Well, it went from Kamiko. First, it was Just Imagine Comics and Stories, which was a tiny anthology company based around Naperville, Illinois.
Yes.
They were a retailer as well. I ended up working for them at comic book shows, which mostly consisted of me going to the convention, helping them set up, driving all night wherever it was, and then they would let me run to Artist Alley with my sketchbook and watch. Because I actually never got sketches from any of the guys I watched draw. I would stand in front of Steve Rube for 8 hours and watch him draw sketches for other people, but I would never ask him for a sketch. It was my sketchbook with my work in it. I would get a critique from everybody that was there, and they really they gave me tons of pointers. Steve Rude and Paul Smith introduced me to the work of Andrew Loomis, so I ended up finding those books and studied that. And then just kind of, continued to meet people over the years at conventions and kept showing. And then I wanted to come back each time that I saw them and show them that I listened to what they said. I wanted to show progress. Like you told me about, why my hands were wrong, or they were too big or I was not drawing them, or the planes of a face, or how hair goes. And I took all that to heart and went home and made sure I learned what they told me, instead of coming back with the same stuff and saying, but I worked a whole day on this drawing. It's like you take out this bad stuff. You always have your newest work in your portfolio or your sketchbook. You only show what's the most current stuff. So I was doing small work, and it's like once you get published for a smaller company, when you're going to a larger company, you take that along. Nobody ever asked me, can I see your degree from the American Academy of Art? And I have a degree in illustration and watercolor, but nobody's ever asked me that. What they ask me is, can you meet this deadline? And does the drawing look good, and can you tell a story? And then when they see that someone else has hired you, they know, okay, somebody else is taking a chance on her. She knows the drill. It's like this person has been counted on by someone else, so it's kind of almost, just a visual resume. And then the more stuff you have, then you just add titles to your name as you go, oh, she used to work on this. Oh, I did Grimjack, or I did a backup in Grimjack and Quorum at First Comics. Oh, okay, well, and I did the Scarlet Letter at First Comics. Well, that's a good resume when you're trying to get Karen Berger to look at your Wonder Woman sample pages. And then she's like, okay, let me have you try out for this. And
what'd she have you try out for?
Wonder Woman.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but there was paid to try out, which was amazing because what they paid me to try out was like double what I was getting from other little companies. So it was like, this is the best job I've never ever had. Let me give you that. Well, while I was working on Wonder Woman, I guess Neil Gaiman had seen my work on Wonder Woman because Sandman was coming out, And he really liked it, and he had a storyline called Brief Lives in mind that he wanted me to work on. But my editor at the time said, no, she's under an exclusive contract, because I had a contract for a year. And she has to finish this. So Neil kept asking. And then that editor ended up leaving the company, and a different editor came in. And when Neil called him, he ended up calling me right away. He goes, do you know that Neil Gaiman's been calling about, once a month, asking if you are free to draw Sandman? And I freaked out, because Sandman was my favorite comic. And I was like, what? No, I had no idea. And he goes, well, yeah, I guess he's been calling Tom the whole time, and or whatever. And Tom was telling him, no, you were, or Karen, somebody was telling him you were on this book and you couldn't get off of it. And he goes, I think we can work. We have to go downstairs and work something out. Like, you should finish your exclusive on in some way, and got to get you on this book, because while I like your Wonder Woman, he goes, I think you're, from all the work I've seen and the pencils that come in, he goes, I think you're much more suited for this book. And if it wasn't for Dan Thorsland, I don't think I would ever have known that he was interested. And he really made a push and helped me make that lateral move that I didn't even know was available to me. And once I got on Sandman, it was the most wonderful, collaborative experience that I had with a writer up until that point.